iPad letterers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Karen, I'm from iPad Lettering and I'm here to help you get the most out of your iPad, whether that is with lettering or art or getting your life organized. In today's video, I'm going to try and follow along one of Gal Shir's videos to see if I can recreate one of his beautiful illustrations. As you know, I'm a lettering artist and if I'm completely honest, I'm not very good at illustrations. So this is going to be a huge challenge and I have no idea how this is going to turn out. But I want to give it a go and also document the process for you in case you want to try it as well. I've been a huge fan of Gal Shir for a very long time. And just in case you don't know him, I very much recommend that you follow him, that you check out his channel. His art is unbelievable. So let's see if I can maybe do this as well. And I just want to be clear, I'm not doing this to steal from Gal or to try to be like Gal. I have a huge admiration for him. So this is for my own practice. I want to see if I can do this and maybe teach myself some illustration skills. So I'm not going to share whatever I'm going to create. I'm just doing this for myself as a practice. And I very much recommend that you do this as well in case you try it yourself. All right, so now let's get started. Let's see how we can do this. So what do we need? Well, of course, we need an iPad and an Apple Pencil. And I'm using a 12.9-inch iPad Pro, which is the iPad I always recommend. And for this illustration, I'm actually using my 3rd generation iPad Pro and not my 4th generation iPad. And it's because this one has a PaperLike screen protector and my new one doesn't have one yet. So I'm going to use this new one to watch Gal paint. But of course, you can also use your laptop to do this. You don't need 2 iPads to follow along with this. And then you'll notice that Gal is using a glove to paint and he's doing this to improve palm rejection. I've actually got the same glove that Gal has. It's by a company called Artica and they kindly sent me this glove to try it out. So this is the very first time I'm trying this and let's see how it goes. I don't think it's necessary. The palm rejection that Procreate has is actually really good, but you never know. So we can try this out as well. And then of course we are going to use the Procreate app. I'm not sure what size canvas Gal uses, but I've decided to go for 2048 by 2560 pixels for my canvas, which is the size I use for all my Instagram posts too. You'll notice that Gal uses his iPad in portrait mode. So I'm going to turn around my iPad and do that as well. I never use my iPad in portrait mode. I always use it in landscape mode. So this is going to be a little bit new for me as well. And then of course we have to turn around our canvas as well and make sure the screen orientation is right. And then of course we'll need a color palette and I really recommend that you stick to 5 colors for this. If you're not sure about how to create color palettes, I've actually got another super fun video for you where I'm showing you a really nice and easy way to create gorgeous color palettes really quickly, and I will link it in the description box of this video. You'll also find links to all the other things I'm mentioning here in the description box so you can relax and watch the video first and then check out all the links after you've finished watching the video. And then of course my favorite part, the Procreate brushes. For this illustration we are only going to need 2 brushes and I'm going to be using a couple of brushes that I made myself. The first one is my Totally Crispy brush and this one is a monoline brush, but you don't necessarily need this. You can use any other monoline brush for this as well. For example, the calligraphy brush set has a monoline brush here, so you can use that. And then I'm also going to use a texture brush that I've made myself, but again you can go to the touch ups and there is a noise brush here which I very much recommend if you wanted to follow along with this tutorial. And having said that, you will most probably get the best results if you use Gal's original brushes and you can find them on his website. Let's start with purple and your monoline brush to create a circle. We're going to take advantage of the quick shape tool here, so you can paint a rough circle and then hold down the Apple Pencil until the shape snaps into place. You'll see a button at the top of the screen appear where you can choose to make this a perfect circle. So let's do that. Then open up your layers palette and duplicate this layer. Now we can move the circle down and make sure you have the magnetics tool selected to help keep the circles aligned. And then we'll create another new layer and we're going to draw a straight line to connect the sides. Again, hold the Apple Pencil down to invoke the quick shape tool and create a perfectly straight line. You can make this even better by tapping on the screen with your other hand and then the line snaps into 15-degree angles. Another nice thing about the quick shape tool is that the shapes stay editable, so we can align the points perfectly with the circles on both ends. And then once you've done that, open the layers palette and duplicate the layer with your line. And again, what we can do now is simply move the line to the other side and using the magnetics tool to help keeping the shapes perfectly aligned. And then open up the layers palette and merge all the layers with your lines. And now we have a single layer that we can fill with our purple color. So all you have to do is drag the color swatch into the gaps there, and then this will fill all these gaps. Now select your texture brush and the pink color. Also make sure you're creating a new layer. And now let's add some texture to our background. I really recommend that you start in the middle and then work yourself up so you can create a little bit of a gradient with the texture. At the top it's almost a solid color, and then towards the middle it sort of fades out a little bit. And you can see this looks a little bit like a mess now, but there's actually an easy fix. All you have to do is open up the layers palette and then choose the clipping mask feature, and now those pink pixels are only visible on top of the purple ones. And now we are creating a new layer and then switching back to the totally crispy brush, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky for me because we are creating some random shapes here. I'm not the best at doing this, but let's see how it goes. You can see that I'm drawing past the purple shape, but there's actually an easy way how we can tidy this up. In your layers panel, tap on the thumbnail of the purple layer and then select the layer, and then tap on inverse to invert the selection. Then go back to your shape layer, and now you can erase all the leftovers of that shape without affecting the pixels that are inside the purple layer. So that's super easy. All right, so now let's create another new layer and then let's add some more of these shapes. And we're going to do the exact same thing again. Tap on select and then invert to invert the mask, and then select the shapes, and now you can tidy up those pixels that you don't want that are outside our purple layer. Okay, and right now I'm getting quite frustrated with this glove, so I'm actually going to take it off again. I'm really not used to wearing it and it bothers me more than it helps, so I'm gonna take it off. And this feels so much better. All right, so now let's add some texture to our shapes, and what we can do here is alpha lock the layer, and then you can paint straight on top of it, or alternatively you can use the clipping mask again like we've done with the purple and the pink. And then we are going to go back to the eraser tool, and with the totally crispy brush just add some little details to the leaves. Right, and then we'll add some more textures, and then going back to the totally crispy brush, we can add some veins to our leaves as well, using the blue color again so it stands out quite nicely. And then we clean up the bottom again. Now we are adding some more foliage here, just some random shapes. You can see I'm not paying too much attention. I'm just gonna make these wiggly little leaves and then fill them, and again clean up the leftovers at the bottom. And then again, we're going to add some veins here as well. And clean it up again. All right, so now let's add a new layer, and then let's add some plants to the background of our foliage. So for these plants, I've slightly modified my totally crispy brush and actually made it pressure sensitive so that I can easily draw those little leaves that stick out. So this is actually quite easy to paint. I'm just putting on more pressure at the start of the leaf and then take the pressure off towards the stem. And then we'll add some shading here as well. And then I'm going to make another one of these plants, but I'm painting it a little bit further up and then move it down because it's a little bit hard to see at the bottom. And then of course the nice thing about Procreate is that we can just duplicate the layer and create a similar one, and then we can just move it into place. All right, and then let's add some shading to our plants as well. And then we can add some seaweed. This is pretty easy. This is just some random lines here, although I'm not so happy with one, so I'm gonna undo them and just do them again, a little bit more spaced out. Looks a bit better. And then some on the other side as well. And let's make another plant. Just duplicate the layer again and then move it into place. And this time we're going to use purple and use the shading brush for that. And then we can make some bigger seaweed here as well. Let's make purple ones, why not? And move them to the back. And then some more shading over the top. But then of course our underwater scene needs some animals as well. And what better than painting a little turtle? So I'm not the best at painting this, it just looks like some random blobs. Well, maybe it's not too bad. Kind of resembles a turtle. Alright, so now let's make a shark as well. And again, this is sort of, feels like I'm just painting some random blobs, but making the fins of the shark makes it, you know, makes it almost look like a shark. So I'm not too unhappy about this one. And then we can add some little fish here as well. And these are pretty easy again. This is just copying a layer and then maybe adjust the shape a little bit so they're not all looking exactly the same. And then we can move them into place, and you can see here the benefit of making them all on a different layer is that you can then move them separately quite easily. Right, so we can make some bigger fish here as well, maybe some fish that swim the other way. And again, painting each fish on its own layer makes it super easy to move them around in case you don't like them where you painted them in the first place. And then we can make some blue ones here as well. And maybe one more. Oh, this one I didn't like so much, so let's just paint this one again. And now we can also paint a little octopus here. And he's just hiding behind that plant there. And we can move it in place. And he looks pretty good. He seems to be quite happy there. Alright, and now let's also paint a whale. And he's really curious. He's looking up, he wants to see what's going on outside his bubble. We're also going to add some flippers here, and then let's add some texture to him as well, and also the other two animals. So it looks like they're kind of swimming in the water, so they're a little bit obscured by the water as well. And now comes my favorite part, now the sun rays, and this is so cool to paint. So using the quick shape tool again to create a triangle, and then change the blend mode to overlay. It makes all the difference to having that sun ray shine through the water and really illuminate some of the plants and give it that illusion of dimension. And then at the bottom of each ray, use the eraser tool and use the texture brush with the eraser tool to just ever so slightly erase the texture of each ray. And then you can copy and paste the rays and adjust them a little bit. And then at the end, we're going to add some more highlights at the top where the sun is shining in, using the texture brush again, and then also setting the blend mode to overlay. And then just to finish it off, let's add some random spots. They always create a little bit of magic. You definitely don't want to overdo it with those random spots. I always find that less is more. So now this is my version of Gal's painting. Let's compare it. I'm just going to hold this next to this one. I'm going to show you what this looks like so we can compare the two. This is Gal's and then this is mine. So it's not quite the same as what Gal created, of course, but I had so much fun creating this. And as you can see, I've not done anything like this before. I'm a complete beginner when it comes to illustrations, but just following Gal along and trying to replicate what he does was actually a lot of fun. And I feel a lot more confident now with making an illustration like this. So I'm definitely going to keep practicing, and I'm really encouraging you to practice as well. I really hope you liked this video. Give me a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification to be notified every time I upload a new video. And then I'm going to bloop up a couple more videos here so you can keep watching and you can keep learning. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.